If a Wahhabi asks, are there religious texts that attribute organs to Allah? The answer is no. Though it is true that some texts may seemingly suggest bodily attributes, but they can have other meanings. Those other meanings must be considered for two reasons. One, the explicit verses of the Qur'an negate those literal physical meanings. Like verse 11 from Suratu-sh-Shura, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, which means nothing is similar to him in any way. And two, sound reasoning does not attribute bodily characteristics to the Creator. That is because it can be said that had the Creator been a body, he would have limits, edges, and specifications. For what would he have those limits instead of other limits? For example, no matter how big his body would have been, according to them, it could have always been bigger. So what specified him with that size instead of another? It would have to be that either he created himself, which is impossible, because he would have had to exist before himself in order to create himself, or someone else created him, and that too is impossible because then he would not be God. Therefore, Allah is not a body. This is merely one simple example of rational refutation of the frivolous idea of the Creator being a body. It is invalid for the verses or recitations of the Qur'an to contradict each other. The result of their claims is that there is conflict in the texts. The Wahhabis do not believe that this conflict is grounds for interpreting these texts differently from the literal meanings. As a result, they fell into tajseem, body worship, which is blasphemy. Amongst the scholars who deemed tajseem, body worship, as disbelief, as kufr, besides the aforementioned quote of Abu Hanifa, and besides other quotes that shall come, insha'Allah, is the true Salafi scholar, Al-Imam Al-Tahawi, who said, وَمَنْ وَصَفَ اللَّهَ بِمَعْنًى مِنْ مَعَانِي الْبَشَرِ فَقَدْ كَفَرَ, which means, whoever describes Allah with a meaning that alludes to the attributes of mankind has committed kufr, has disbelieved. And as for the one who believes in any different, befitting interpretation, they would be accused by the Wahhabis of takdhib, the blasphemy of contradicting religious judgments, and ta'til, the blasphemy of atheism and denying the attributes of Allah. What if they say, if Allah revealed a word, it should be literal, or He would have revealed a different word? If a Wahhabi says this out loud, then he was not thinking ahead. Just make him contradict himself with a verse like, أَلَا إِنَّهُ بِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ مُحِيطٌ, which means, surely He is muhit, of everything. If taken literally, it would mean that Allah surrounds everything. Since they do not believe that He surrounds everything, and instead that He is physically above everything, they do not explain it as it appears. Rather, they say it refers to His knowledge of everything. Therefore, they contradict themselves and fall into what they run away from, which is making alternative explanations and abandoning literal meanings. This reasoning that, since Allah revealed the expression, it must be taken literally, has no support from the Qur'an or Sunnah. Scholars like Abu Nasr al-Qushayri said that those who follow this method do so because of their weak understanding of Arabic. He said, وفي لغة العرب ما شئت من التجوز والتوسع في الخطاب، وكانوا يعرفون موارد الكلام ويفهمون الخطاب، فمن تجافى عن التأويل فذلك لقلة فهمه بالعربية. In the language of the Arabs is whatever you wish of figures of speech and versatility in address. They were acquainted with the different insinuations of speech, and they understand the address. So whoever avoided ta'wil, that is only due to his puny understanding of Arabic. This very devious and weak-minded understanding may be appealing to an ignorant, lazy person who does not want to think. As just seen, in reality, they do not apply this reasoning to every ambiguous text. There are plenty of ambiguous texts to which they give alternative explanations, such as what Al-Bukhari narrated, فَإِنَّ رَبَّهُ بَيْنَهُ وَبَيْنَ الْقِبْلَةِ. It seemingly means, surely his Lord is between him and his qibla. How would Allah be between the praying person and his qibla, which would imply that Allah is on earth when he is high above the throne according to them? How do you explain this hadith, O Wahhabiyy? For if you do not take it by its apparent meaning, you cannot accuse us of anything for making ta'wil. And Allah, the Exalted, knows best.